Francis Ngannou just knocked out Renan Ferreira in the first round by TKO. This man took him down with ease, pretty quick double leg, almost got caught up in a triangle choke, but then, Francis, he powers through out of that and then just starts throwing haymakers upon haymakers on Renan Ferreira to the point where Renan Ferreira just passed out to the ground. Like, it was brutal for Renan Ferreira. And Francis Ngannou, he still is a problem for any heavyweight that goes up against him. I mean, the guy's punches are just insane. The power in his hands is lethal. But, credit to him. I'm very happy for Francis that he won. I predicted that he was going to win this fight. I'm pretty sure everybody else did. Like, come on. PFL's heavyweights are pretty incompetent, but to the point. Like, I'm happy for him. He's been through so much in his life. For him to come back into the MMA scene after 2 years being away and just get a performance like that, that's so great to see. So I'm happy for Francis. Let's see what's next for him, whether he's going to retire or stay in MMA. We got to see what's going to happen with him. But now I'm curious. I was watching the PFL fight yesterday between Francis and Renan Ferreira, and after he just beat him up and just absolutely demolished him, what happens now for Francis? Like, this was PFL's biggest and baddest heavyweight in their division, and he got demolished within a minute. Like, who else are you going to put up against Francis now in PFL? There's literally nobody else. Who are you going to put? Ryan Bader? Ryan Bader's going to get cooked by Francis. Any other heavyweight there is going to get cooked. And I just don't know how that's going to bring eyes into PFL. Like, Francis is a big name, but nobody's going to want to watch him fight bums in PFL. Nobody's going to want to see that. Like, their best bet right now is either you get Francis Ngannou back in boxing or shit, put him up against Jake Paul. Jake Paul is fighting in the PFL. I highly doubt Jake Paul would ever want to step in a ring with Francis Ngannou. But there's nobody else there for him to fight, and this is not a good thing. Competition is important, and if you don't got someone with a bit of essence and a bit of quality in there to at least bring a fight with Francis, who's going to want to watch that? Because everybody knows that the UFC is the #1 promotion in the world. PFL is second. Obviously, the good thing going about it with Francis in PFL is that, he left the UFC as champion. Nobody else beat him there. Nobody else took the belt away from him. That holds him to a higher standard to a degree. Like, I know I made a whole video about it saying how this would destroy the PFL, but now thinking about it, knowing the quality difference in that fight, the question is now, what will the PFL do with him? Now you got him holding the title, and then he's going to fight whoever wins the tournament, but that's not going to bring any eyes. I don't think people are going to go out their way and buy their pay-per-views to watch these fights. Francis is a big name, but is the draw really still there? And if the PFL really want to make this work, at this point, man, I really think you got to team up with Riyadh Season, which they have been doing, and just try to find a co-partnership with the UFC to at least make these big fights happen, like Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones or Francis Ngannou versus Tom Aspinall, because I think any PFL heavyweight he fights there is not going to work out. Or you put him back in boxing, or you compete with Ryzen and Glory and maybe put Francis versus Van Hooven, whatever the case may be. I just don't think this mantra of Francis fighting in the PFL against all those PFL heavyweights is just not going to bring any attention to them. And honestly, the UFC stuff and the co-partnership stuff will never happen. I know this. I understand that. But there is literally nothing there for Francis. He's going to make a bag. He's going to try and help out PFL. When it comes to bringing eyes into the PFL, I just don't think that's going to be enough. I really don't. That's just my opinion on the matter of this fight. There was obviously a bunch of other good fights on this card too. I mean, Chris Cyborg versus Larissa Pacheco. Chris Cyborg wins in a tough decision. She got beat up bad. She got 2 gashes above her eye, like huge cuts. One on the left side of the eye, one on the right side of the eye. It was just painful and brutal to see, but she powered through it, man. She had a heart of a warrior in that fight because Larissa Pacheco was piecing her up, but Chris Cyborg was patient. She took her down. She was very selective with her shots. She didn't really dominate, but it was a close, fair fight, and it just goes to show Chris Cyborg's experience in that fight. She won that, and good for her. She's now a PFL champion. She's basically held the title in every promotion she has been. She's up there as one of the GOATs when it comes to women's MMA. Obviously, I think Amanda is better than her. We saw it in their fight where Amanda just destroyed Chris Cyborg in minutes. But she's up there too when it comes to being one of the pioneers in women's MMA. Credit to her. And that's all I got to talk about, guys. Anyways, Good game, boys. Catch you later. Deuces. I'm out. Subscribe.